I'm Curtis, 58, and I thought I knew every corner of my marriage. My wife, Denise, and I have lived in Asheville, North Carolina, for nearly 20 years. We raised 2 daughters here, watched them leave for college, and suddenly found ourselves alone in a house that felt too large and too quiet. Nobody warns you about that silence. You spend decades running from soccer games to school meetings, and then one day you're standing in the kitchen asking your wife if she wants regular coffee or decaf because that's the biggest decision left. I own a small HVAC company. Denise manages a local pharmacy. We built a good life. No drama. No scandals. At least that's what I believed. That Tuesday night I couldn't sleep. My knees were aching from a long day, so I wandered into the den. An old tablet sat on the bookshelf. We used it years ago for family photos and recipes. The screen suddenly lit up. A password reset notification. For an email account I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it. Then I saw the name. Denise's maiden name. I frowned. She hadn't used that name in almost 3 decades. Curiosity is a funny thing. Men our age know it can either save you or ruin your evening. I tapped the notification. The email address was one I'd never seen before. Not her work account. Not her personal account. Something entirely different. The reset message had arrived at exactly 12:07 a.m., which meant somebody had tried to log in. I looked down the hallway toward our bedroom. Denise was asleep. At least I thought she was. Then I heard the floor creak. I turned. She was standing in the doorway wearing her robe, staring at the tablet in my hands. And for the first time in 29 years, my wife looked frightened of me. I didn't say a word. Neither did she. That silence lasted only a few seconds, but it felt like an entire season. I had the strange feeling that our empty nest wasn't the only thing living in this house. And I was about to find out why. Denise finally stepped into the room and folded her arms. "Why are you up?" she asked. That wasn't an answer. It was a counterattack. I held up the tablet. "I could ask you the same thing." Her face lost color. "You still use this email?" I asked. "No." "You don't?" "No." I nodded slowly. "Then why did someone try to reset the password after midnight?" She looked at the floor. "My wife has many tells. After 29 years, you learn them all. Looking away means she's buying time." "I forgot that account existed," she said. I didn't raise my voice. "I never have." "Denise, you don't forget an account that uses your maiden name." She swallowed. "Who tried to log in?" "I don't know." Another answer that wasn't an answer. I set the tablet on the coffee table and sat down. "Then help me understand why you look terrified." She rubbed her hands together. "That bothered me more than the email. Fear means there's a story. And stories usually have chapters." "It's late," she said. "Can we talk tomorrow?" That sentence landed like a brick. Men, if your spouse asks to delay an important conversation until tomorrow, your mind writes 10 terrible endings before sunrise. I looked at her carefully. "When did you last use this account?" "A few months ago." That got my attention. A minute earlier she'd said she forgot it existed. Now she'd used it recently. Small lies. Those are the dangerous ones. I stood and walked to the kitchen for a glass of water. She didn't follow. I suddenly realized something else. For the past year Denise had been distracted. Long moments staring out windows. More quiet than usual. More tired. I had blamed empty nest syndrome. Maybe I was wrong. I came back and asked one question. "Is there someone else?" She looked genuinely shocked. "What? No. Absolutely not. I believe that answer. But believing one answer doesn't explain the others. I picked up the tablet again. The recovery email listed on the account wasn't one I recognized either. I looked up. Who's Evelyn Mercer? Denise's eyes filled with tears. She sat down heavily in the chair and whispered 3 words I never expected to hear. I hoped she'd wait. I didn't know who Evelyn was. I didn't know what she was waiting for. But I suddenly understood one thing. The email account wasn't the secret. It was the door to one. And I had just turned the handle. I barely slept. At 6 in the morning I found Denise sitting alone on the back porch, wrapped in a blanket and staring at the mountains. I poured 2 cups of coffee and sat beside her. I'm not angry, I said. But I need the truth. She nodded without looking at me. You remember my cousin Monica? I did. They had been close years ago. She passed away 3 years ago, Denise said softly. Before she died, she gave me Evelyn's number. I frowned. Who is Evelyn? Denise took a long breath. A financial planner in Charlotte. That wasn't the answer I expected. She reached into her robe pocket and handed me a folded piece of paper. It was a business card. Evelyn Mercer. Retirement and estate planning. I looked at my wife. Why would a secret email account involve a financial planner? Her eyes filled again. Because I didn't know how to tell you. Those words can scare a husband more than shouting ever could. She continued. Last year I started noticing little things. You forgot appointments. You repeated stories. You missed 2 invoices at work. I stared at her. I thought you were just tired. So did I, she said. The porch suddenly felt colder. Then Monica got sick. Before she died, she told me something I couldn't stop thinking about. She finally looked at me. Her husband handled all their finances. When she passed away, he had no idea where anything was. He was lost. I said nothing. So I contacted Evelyn. I wanted to make sure that if something happened to either of us, the other one would be protected. I looked at the business card again. That explained the planner. It didn't explain the secret. Why hide it from me? Denise's hands trembled. Because that's not all. She stood and went inside. A minute later she returned carrying a thick envelope. My name was written across the front. In her handwriting. I opened it. Inside were account statements, insurance papers, passwords, and a handwritten letter. At the top of the letter were words that made my stomach tighten. If my memory ever fails me, this is everything Curtis needs to know. I slowly raised my eyes to my wife. She broke down crying. And I realized I had been investigating the wrong mystery all along. But I still didn't understand why she had prepared for something neither of us had ever discussed. I carried the envelope into the kitchen and spread everything across the table. Insurance policies. Property records. Retirement accounts. It looked less like a secret and more like a rescue plan. Denise sat across from me, twisting a napkin in her hands. Talk to me, I said. She took a shaky breath. My mother had dementia. I froze. In 29 years of marriage, she had mentioned her mother's memory problems, but never in detail. She started forgetting little things at 59, Denise said. By 62 she barely recognized people. I looked at my wife. She had turned 57 last fall. After you forgot those appointments, I panicked, she continued. I started reading articles and imagining the worst. You thought I had dementia? She nodded. I was terrified. I leaned back in my chair. The strange distance. The quiet moods. The secret email. Every piece suddenly fit. I contacted Evelyn because I wanted everything organized if you got sick. And then I became scared that maybe it wasn't you. She wiped her eyes. Sometimes I forget names, Curtis. Sometimes I walk into a room and forget why I'm there. I started thinking I might end up like my mother. There it was. The real secret. Not another man. Not hidden debt. Fear. Pure, silent fear. I looked at the letter again. It wasn't written for a divorce or an affair. It was written for a future she dreaded. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. She looked almost ashamed. Because saying it out loud made it real. I reached for her hand. She tried to pull away. I didn't let her. Denise, we're not 25 anymore. Half our conversations are about cholesterol and knee pain. She laughed through her tears. But this? I said softly. This you carry together. She covered her face and cried. For a long time neither of us spoke. Then I noticed another document in the envelope. An appointment confirmation. Neurology clinic. Scheduled for next Monday. I looked up. You've already seen a doctor. She slowly nodded. And? She swallowed hard. I didn't go alone. I frowned. Then who went with you? Her answer caught me completely off guard. Our daughter Natalie. I thought I finally understood everything. I was wrong. I stared at Denise. Natalie knew about this? She nodded. I made her promise not to tell you. I won't pretend that didn't sting. Our oldest daughter lived in Nashville and called every Sunday. I thought we told each other everything. Apparently not. Why involve her? I asked. Because I was scared, Denise said. And because she works in healthcare and understood my fears. I sat quietly. Fear makes people do strange things. It builds walls where doors should be. What happened at the appointment? I finally asked. Denise took a deep breath. The doctor said I don't show signs of dementia. I blinked. What? They ran tests. They asked questions. They reviewed my history. Her eyes softened. They think it's stress, anxiety, and grief. Grief? She nodded. When the girls moved away and Monica died, I never really dealt with it. I was afraid of getting older. Afraid of becoming unnecessary. Afraid of ending up like my mother. There it was. Loss of identity. Not an illness. Not betrayal. A woman quietly carrying fears she didn't know how to share. I reached across the table. You should have told me. I know. You let yourself suffer alone. I know. Then she looked me in the eyes. I'm sorry, Curtis. I wasn't hiding another life. I was hiding my fear. I squeezed her hand. For the first time in days, I felt my shoulders relax. I wasn't forgiving weakness. I was forgiving a mistake born from love and fear. Listen to me, I said. We're getting older. That's not a crime. And if one day either of us needs help, we'll face it together. She cried again. This time I pulled her into my arms. A week later, Natalie came home and we spent an entire afternoon going through the documents in that envelope. We organized passwords, insurance papers, and retirement plans. Then we started a new family tradition. Every 3 months we sit around the kitchen table and talk about the hard things, the fears, the finances, the future. No secrets. No silent suffering. I've learned something at 58. A marriage doesn't break because people get older. It breaks when fear speaks louder than honesty. Denise still keeps that old tablet in the den. Sometimes we laugh about it. A forgotten email account nearly convinced me my marriage was falling apart. Instead, it reminded me what marriage really is. It's not two people pretending to be fearless. It's two people choosing to carry each other's fears when one of them gets too heavy. What if the biggest threat to a marriage isn't betrayal at all, but the fears we hide to protect the people we love? One midnight notification nearly tore this family apart, and ended up making it stronger than it had been in years.